An underwater drone recently entered Jacob's Well, a deep and dangerous cave in Texas, and captured something horrifying. The shocking discovery has left everyone stunned and raised new fears about what lies beneath. As the drone ventured deeper, the images it recorded were unlike anything seen before, sending shockwaves across the world. Could this frightening find change what we thought we knew about Jacob's Well? We will uncover the terrifying truth hidden in the depths of this strange cave that could change what we know about the universe. Jacob's Well in Wimberley, Texas, isn't just a pretty spot to swim. It's breathtaking but also risky. The deep water paths and thick, sticky mud at the bottom have ended up being the last stop for at least 12 divers. Even though it's attractive to those who love a good thrill, these sad losses add a gloomy note to its beauty. But what the underwater drone uncovered deep within those dangerous waters could be even more terrifying than the tragedies themselves. Stay with us as we reveal the chilling discovery next. This place isn't just an impressive natural formation, it's alive with many creatures. Quails, roadrunners, turkeys, water snakes, sunfish, Guadalupe bass, crayfish, and blind salamanders all call it home. It holds the title for the longest cave in Hays County and is the runner-up for the longest underwater cave in Texas. It's fed by the Trinity Aquifer, a massive underground water system that collects water from rain and surface streams passing through limestone, creating underground caves and channels. The well has been a notable spot since the times when Native Americans roamed the area. The earliest records of Jacob's Well come from the 1800s, penned by Jacob de Cordova, a real estate entrepreneur. He was blown away by how clear the water was, noting that you could see tiny details way down below. Some folks think he talked up the well to get people interested in moving to the area, helping him sell more land. The name Jacob's Well might have been inspired by an old biblical story about a well Jacob made that kept giving water. At first, the spring here was so powerful it shot water up high, making it tough for anyone wanting to explore it. But over the years, the water's force has dialed back, which makes it a bit safer for those daring to check out its hidden depths. Nowadays, the place is a favorite for visitors who enjoy the crisp, clear water, with some brave souls leaping from the cliffs into the narrow entrance of the well. The real adventurers go further, diving down into the network of underwater caves. Only divers who are highly skilled, well-trained, and have the right licenses try to tackle this challenging area, which could take them around 5 hours to navigate through tight spaces. The sad stories of Kent Moping and Mark Breyer, two divers who died exploring the cave, remind us of the dangers lurking within Jacob's Well. They dived deep into the cave system, driven by their love for new discoveries, not realizing the deadly turn their adventure would take. At the well's mouth, a 25-foot drop leads to what looks like the bottom, but it's deceiving. It's visible from the surface. For many years, countless divers have reached this point, enjoying the view of the sky mirrored on the water's surface, maybe even picking up a fossil or two, before the strong push from the aquifer sends them shooting back up. The initial dive might be safer now, but going deeper still requires a lot of expertise and caution, proving the well's ongoing challenge and appeal for those looking to delve into the remarkable features of this natural wonder. When you start your dive at Jacob's Well, you begin by descending slowly through foggy waters, gradually losing sight of the daylight above. As you go deeper, the surroundings become murky, covered in silt where visibility is nearly zero. Down at a gravelly flat area, a narrow path beckons divers to push down to a depth of 55 feet. Turning on a light here reveals an otherworldly, fascinating scene. Divers often feel like they are floating weightless in a dense fluid, much like the floating pearl you might see in a commercial. Although the well is only about 20 feet wide, it's a maze of dead ends and walls marked with odd scratches and deep crevices where large catfish dominate their cold, indifferent kingdom. The entrance gives off a soft glow, like moonlight shimmering through the water. A tight chute pulls you deeper to 75 feet, where the space narrows enough to just squeeze through. This section is home to crayfish and the odd eel, which later travel to the Sargasso Sea to spawn. The tight passageways challenge divers, testing their skills to maneuver with their tanks through to a tall, narrow chamber topped with an air pocket. This chamber serves as a gateway to further exploration, highlighting the challenge it poses. Even though they knew the risks, two young divers were eager to explore, not knowing what was waiting for them. Kent Moping and Mark Breyer, two young explorers drawn to the depths of Jacob's Well, were no strangers to diving. At 21, Moping was not just an experienced diver but also an assistant instructor. Moping, who was working part-time at a dive shop in Pasadena, was captivated by the aura of Jacob's well and eager to explore its mysterious depths. He was fully aware of the dangers that lurk below, including the tragic losses of 4 divers who had perished in the same location. Despite these risks, Moping's determination remained unwavering. Alongside him was his friend Mark Breyer, a 20-year-old adventurer. College student and fellow diving enthusiast, the two friends traveled from Pasadena with a group and camped near the well, setting up close to a dilapidated resort a few miles from town. On the night of September 9th, shortly after midnight, they decided to take the plunge into the well, driven by their desire to uncover its secrets. The pair set out to tackle one of the most treacherous sections of the cave, ominously named the Chinal Squeeze. This tight, claustrophobic passage had claimed lives before. Without extra lighting or safety ropes, they pushed forward, each step riskier than the last. At one particularly narrow spot, Moping removed his tank to maneuver through, pulling it along, with Breyer following his lead. Meanwhile, their friend Joe Moy, who had accompanied them, realized he was running low on oxygen and tried desperately to signal them by banging on his tank. Unfortunately, it was too late. When Moy finally surfaced, he noticed the once clear water had turned murky, a chilling sign that Moping and Breyer had disturbed the sediment below, a sign of impending tragedy. The story of Moping and Breyer serves as a sobering reminder of the risks inherent in Jacob's Well, a place that continues to captivate thrill-seekers despite its deadly history. Bettalier, a local rescuer, did his best to coordinate efforts in Wimberley, but the complexity of the rescue required more hands. Realizing the need for additional support, 3 members of the Hays County rescue team joined the effort. By the time the full team arrived at Jacob's Well, darkness had fallen. Known for its treacherous depths, Jacob's Well had already witnessed numerous tragedies. The rescue teams had been searching the water since the incident, but their efforts to locate the young divers were hampered by exhaustion and difficulty navigating the cave's narrow, unpredictable passages. Diver Chu spent an hour and a half in the cave during one of the search attempts and managed to locate the bodies, which were buried under layers of gravel. Despite his efforts, he was unable to retrieve them. Another diver, Dibble, peered into the pitch-black well and ultimately decided to wait for daylight, hoping the morning light would provide a better chance to recover the bodies. Heartbreakingly, the bodies of the young divers remained hidden in the well for 10 years until a change in water flow allowed another team to make a successful recovery. Initially, Dibble sent down 2 divers, hoping they would quickly locate the bodies. However, the pathway was almost entirely obstructed by gravel, and the divers returned to the surface visibly shaken by the cave's unstable floor and dangerous conditions. Determined, Dibble traveled back to San Marcos to assemble a larger team and gather more equipment, preparing for another attempt at first light. The following morning, the divers returned to Jacob's Well and tried to clear a path by moving gravel with small tools, but their efforts made the cave even more difficult to navigate. After receiving mixed signals about the safety of continuing, Dibble and a game warden named Calvin Turner decided to dive in themselves. They dropped additional air tanks at various depths and secured a safety line as they descended, double-checking the cave's upper chambers to ensure no remains had been missed. As the search continued, the dangerous conditions began to take a toll on Dibble, leading to a harrowing brush with death. When Dibble reached the section where the divers were last seen, he realized the passage was still blocked. Checking his air supply, he noticed he was running low. While attempting to navigate through the narrow, gravel-filled passage, his mask was suddenly struck by a cascade of gravel. The shifting sediment pinned him at the entrance, leaving him trapped in the dark with his arms immobilized and his oxygen supply dwindling. Faced with imminent demise, Dibble made a decision to go peacefully, removing his breathing apparatus to drown quietly without panicking. As he attempted to inhale water, his survival instincts overpowered his resignation. With renewed determination, he fought to free himself, eventually managing to break loose. Through his blurred vision, he saw Turner extending a spare mouthpiece toward him, and he gratefully took a deep breath, accidentally swallowing air into his stomach in the process. As they began their ascent, the decreasing pressure caused the trapped air in Dibble's stomach to expand, necessitating a rapid rise to the surface to avoid decompression sickness. This quick ascent brought searing pain as expanding gases wreaked havoc inside his body. When they finally broke the surface, Dibble was visibly swollen and immediately spat out the mouthpiece, crying out in pain. The agony he experienced lasted 12 hours. Before he finally began to feel some relief, Dibble's symptoms were strikingly similar to an embolism, where air gets trapped in the lungs, usually something treatable only in a specialized chamber. He was rushed to Brooke Army Medical Center, where he received some help, but the relief was minimal. Later, X-rays revealed a tear in his stomach lining, leading to a diagnosis of peritonitis, a condition as painful as having multiple appendices burst at once. It was a serious situation, and Dibble needed immediate surgery. Surgeons had to cut through his swollen abdomen, a challenging procedure that felt to them like slicing into a basketball. As Dibble recovered, the mission to retrieve bodies from Jacob's Well continued. Joining the effort was Don Broad, a seasoned 46-year-old diver from Austin with strong principles and extensive experience. Broad's diving passion had begun early. As a child, he created makeshift diving gear to explore local canals. By high school, he was hooked on diving at Jacob's Well, often finding relics like a water wagon and old horseshoes. Despite his experience, Broad wasn't fond of body recovery missions and held a low opinion of divers who took pride in such work, having had unsettling experiences with such tasks before. Nonetheless, his skills were crucial for the job. During one dive, Broad found 2 divers who had perished in 1965, their equipment and logbooks still eerily preserved. Their flashlights even glowed dimly, illuminating a chilling scene. Broad also discovered other remains, marking a haunting point in his diving history. After his hospitalization, Dibble was left with an $88,000 medical bill and no insurance to cover it, but his diving friends stepped up. They organized fundraisers and even planned an underwater film festival to help him manage his expenses. Once he received medical clearance to dive after Christmas, Dibble returned to Jacob's Well with a mission to make it safer. He and his team hauled 80 cement bags into the cave, constructing a concrete barrier reinforced with metal rods. This addition blocked off the most dangerous passage while still allowing water to flow, making the cave safer for future visitors. Despite these efforts, thrill-seekers continued to disregard the risks. At one point, Dibble found that someone had removed the protective grate he'd installed at the cave entrance, leaving a bold, cheeky note in its place. This incident was one of many where visitors ignored the risks of Jacob's Well, a site marred by tragic incidents, including the deaths of skilled divers like Kent Moping and Mark Breyer. But the well's dark history hasn't deterred adventurers. It remains a draw for divers, many of whom are unprepared for its dangers. Jacob's Well is notorious for its narrow, misleading passageways. Lou Bond highlighted this difficulty in an article, noting just how deceptive and complex this underwater maze can be. Although a sturdy grate guards the entrance, the well continues to lure thrill-seekers. In 2015, a young diver named Diego Adam narrowly escaped tragedy during a free dive when he lost a flipper at a depth of 100 feet. Thanks to his quick thinking and diving skills, he survived. He resurfaced just in time, avoiding a potentially fatal situation. The incident at Jacob's Well underscores the significant risks of cave diving. This location serves as a reminder of the need for proper training, safety protocols, and respect for nature's power. Despite Dibble and others working hard to improve safety, the well still attracts those eager for discovery. This continued fascination reveals the human drive for adventure but also emphasizes the importance of caution, preparation, and respect for nature's unpredictable dangers. While Jacob's Well is a widely known danger, it is just one of many perilous diving sites that beckon brave explorers worldwide. In Texas, Jacob's Well is famous for its complex network of underwater caves and has sadly claimed many lives. It stands as a somber reminder of the world's hazardous diving spots, each offering unique experiences and posing serious risks. For example, the Eagle's Nest sinkhole in Florida is known as the Mount Everest of diving due to its extreme depth and narrow passageways. This site plunges over 300 feet, with tight, winding pathways that challenge even the most skilled divers. The murky water makes navigation difficult, adding to the danger. Eagle Nest's dangers were brought to light when 55-year-old Charles Odom tragically lost his life there. He and 3 friends were diving, with one staying behind due to equipment issues. Odom and his companions descended to a section called the ballroom, but around 100 feet down, Odom stopped responding. His friends brought him to the surface, but attempts to revive him were unsuccessful. Since the 1980s, at least 10 divers have died in Eagle's Nest, prompting occasional safety reviews and temporary closures. The Temple of Doom in Tulum, Mexico, is another example. This beautiful cenote, a natural pit with crystal clear water, draws divers worldwide. However, its extensive maze of underwater caves makes it highly dangerous, with divers at risk of getting lost or trapped. Yet, the Temple of Doom continues to attract divers from across the globe, showcasing the enduring pull of exploring nature's most hazardous locations. Local tour guides around the cave system tend to be quite relaxed about safety, even though the cave's entrance is marked with a skull and crossbones, a clear warning sign. This casual approach highlights how people are irresistibly drawn to nature's beauty despite the real dangers it might pose. The Shaft Sinkhole in Mount Gambier, Australia, is another location reserved for the most daring explorers. Discovered in 1938 when a farmer's horse stumbled upon it, the shaft has since attracted divers eager to explore its depths. To reach the main underwater chamber, divers must squeeze through a narrow entryway. This main area, known as the shaft, opens into two large tunnels with an underwater rock pile that extends down to a depth of 118 meters. The risks of diving here became tragically apparent in 1973 when, out of 8 divers who entered the shaft, only 4 returned. Later, the bodies of siblings Stephen and Christine Millett, along with Gordon G. Roberts and John H. Bamman, were recovered. One of the survivors, Glenn Millett, was unable to locate his siblings in time. This tragedy struck after an impressive record of around 8,000 dives at the site. Reports indicated that the accident occurred when the divers left the clear main chamber and entered a tunnel, disturbing the silt and losing visibility of one another. Despite these dangers, the Shaft Sinkhole remains a popular yet perilous destination for those seeking to brave its unique underwater landscape. The unsettling discovery in Jacob's Well raises questions. Could this be a natural phenomenon, or is there something more sinister lurking beneath the surface? Could it perhaps be tied to other strange occurrences in the area?